Hey guys, today what we're going to do is make traditional Lahmeh Bi Ajeen. So at the moment what I'm doing is I've got a pot, I've put in some oil, olive oil, about 2 diced onions with half a kilo of minced meat. So I'm just flipping it over, I'm just trying to cook it, not too much. I've added salt and pepper in there. And the goal that we're trying to get to is just to break it up into some pieces. So while we're doing that, we've got some ingredients that have been prepared now. And the first thing you probably notice is the garlic. That's about 3 cloves of diced garlic that I've kind of crushed a little bit. You've got the parsley next to that, which is a bit of an overkill. I'm not going to use that much, probably about half of the parsley. Then you've got the dried mint. You've got the chili flakes, more salt and pepper, the fresh mint, and you've also got tahini that we're going to be using. So that's an essential ingredient in this Lahmeh Bi Ajeen recipe, which is the tahini. We're going to probably add about 2 tablespoons of tahini. Another very important ingredient is the actual pomegranate molasses itself. So this is like pomegranate syrup that we're going to be adding in there. So far into the pot we've already said salt and pepper, we've added the garlic, we've added chili flakes, dried mint, and now 2 tablespoons of tahini in there. The parsley has been added in now into the pot, and at this stage I'm really tasting the meat. I've turned off the heat a little bit, and it's really adding in the ingredients that you think you need more of. So it could be salt, peppercorn, vinegar, molasses, chili flakes. It's really personal preference at this stage. Before rolling out the puff pastry, what you want to do is just get a metal tray, like you can see here, with some olive oil, drizzle some from the top, and then with your hands coat it all around. That way the dough doesn't stick. Using the puff pastry that I prepared earlier, what I've done is I've cut it into 2 pieces. I'm using the first half now. I'm rolling it into small circles using the rolling pin, and as required I'm just going to put some flour just to prevent it sticking to the rolling pin. Here I'm shaping up one of the dough pieces for the puff pastry, and that's approximately what it looks like. If you want to have an idea, there it is in the metal tray. Those are some pieces there, and that's what the workspace looks like. So at this stage, when they're already into the tray, we're putting in the filling on top of each one of those pastries, and I'm checking to see the consistency of the meat, and I've realized that it's a little bit dry. So what I'm doing is I'm adding some oil, vinegar, and syrup molasses. You can as well add a bit of lemon juice just to kind of give it that moisture, but it's really personal preference. The Lahmeh Bi Ajeen is ready to be put in the oven. So I've preheated the oven to about 190 degrees Celsius, and I've put in the trays in there. I'll be checking up on them every 5 to 10 minutes and rotating those trays, say 180 degrees, 360 degrees. Before we put them into the oven itself, we put in some pine nuts on top, and in between the spaces on the actual trays I put in some vegetable ghee just to help the puff pastry cook. Here's another look of the Lahmeh Bi Ajeen in the oven. It's almost ready. I've just turned it in there, and you can see that it is puffing up a little bit. These are ones that I've taken out just now. I'm trying to inspect them just to see whether the dough is cooked, how it's feeling, is it hard, is it soft. You can see the gaps in the meat that have formed, and that's due to the fact that there are some air bubbles in the pastry itself that have risen the dough. Here are some images of the Lahmeh Bi Ajeen, just to show you and give you an idea of the amount of vegetable ghee that I've put in between. the trays. So as you can see here, like we were talking about earlier, there are gaps that have formed in the meat itself on the puff pastry, and that's due to the fact that the pastry has risen and it's caused those gaps to form. To prevent this, I would recommend making the puff pastry and the dough a little bit thicker when you roll it out, and I think that should be fine. But here are some final images of how it turned out. It's been served. I've put in some fresh mint on the top, and you can see as well the pine nuts are there. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you're interested in how I made the puff pastry from scratch, just stick around. I've got a short clip that I've added that just gives you a bit of details on the method required. What we did with the dough, there's a couple of options that we had, but we went with making fresh puff pastry. So this is one that we made from scratch, and all it is really, it's 2.5 cups of flour with some cold water, about 1 cup of butter, and we've put in salt with that, and we've blended it in all together. We've let it sit for multiple times in the fridge, and you can see the shape here. It's like it rolls over itself. So it's been rolled over a total of about 8 times. And in between those times, it's been let to sit in the fridge for about half an hour to 45 minutes. And what we're hoping is, now it's just a final stage where it should be ready now. So it's just now in room temperature. We're waiting for it to cool down a bit, and then we're gonna actually roll it and use it for the Lahmeh Bi Ajeen